Hello and welcome to episode 21 of From A to Global Z. I'm your host, Dr. Bill Lord. For episode 20, I discussed the often neglected pros and cons of using webcams while teleworking, virtual schooling, and just chatting with friends and family. And for this episode, I'm going to deviate from our standard format. This episode is solely dedicated to mic talk time and features a comparison between the recently released CAD e50 condenser microphone with a bunch of $100 to $200 more established mics. So why am I straying so far from our traditional production path? If you follow From A to Global Z, you've heard me talk about CAD microphones, and while I'm not a fan of everything they've created, they do make some really nice gear, and their mics often perform above their price point. Several weeks ago, I went shopping for a pair of CAD E100S mics, a well-regarded high-performance mic, only to discover the mic had been discontinued. And I was really bummed, but while poking around to find some news surrounding the retirement of the mic, I discovered CAD had just come out with the E50. I've only been able to find one mic review on the E50 and was intrigued, so I figured why not grab a couple and produce a mic review myself. So this is what this episode is all about. This mic is priced in an affordability sweet spot, currently selling for about $150 USD. The $100 to $200 mic price range holds a lot of appeal for a lot of people. I figure I can't be the only one who's curious about how this mic sounds against two handfuls of comparably priced mics. As such, I've decided to do a comparison style mic review, so together we can hear how this new mic compares against 9 established condenser mics from a similar price point. I'm not going to get all techie or specky in this review. If you want to know the specs, they're readily available on CAD's website. For me, while mic specs are useful and should be considered, I want to hear how a mic sounds. I'll say the design of the E50 is refreshingly simplistic. No switches, knobs, or doodads, just a well-built cardioid microphone that ships with a cool shock mount and a clown nose foam windscreen. For comparison, I'm going to record a sentence with the E50 8 inches from my mug with my voice projecting just over the top of the mic. The signal will be routed through a solid-state logic SSL2 Plus audio interface. I will then duplicate the recording process for each mic recorded. Line levels will be adjusted for comparison's sake. And by the way, I'm extremely interested in hearing how this mic handles sibilants or words with S sounds, and have heavily loaded my test sentence accordingly. I will be comparing the CAD E50 with the following mics: Avantone CK6 Classic, Blue Spark, which has been discontinued, the CAD M179 in cardioid pattern, the Neat Worker B, an early model Rode NT1. This is a very early model with a gray body, an SE X1A, an SE X1S, the Studio Projects B1, and the TechZone Audio Stellar X2. All mics equipped with any kind of switch are set to flat. Alrighty, here we go. Sally scoots her scooter across the streets of San Francisco so she can see the seals sunning on the piers by the bay. Sally scoots her scooter across the streets of San Francisco so she can see the seals sunning on the piers by the bay. Sally scoots her scooter across the streets of San Francisco so she can see the seals sunning on the piers by the bay. Sally scoots her scooter across the streets of San Francisco so she can see the seals sunning on the piers by the bay. Sally scoots her scooter across the streets of San Francisco so she can see the seals sunning on the piers by the bay. Sally scoots her scooter across the streets of San Francisco so she can see the seals sunning on the piers by the bay. Sally scoots her scooter across the streets of San Francisco so she can see the seals sunning on the piers by the bay. Sally scoots her scooter across the streets of San Francisco so she can see the seals sunning on the piers by the bay. Sally scoots her scooter across the streets of San Francisco so she can see the seals sunning on the piers by the bay. Sally scoots her scooter across the streets of San Francisco so she can see the seals sunning on the piers by the bay. That completes our mic-to-mic comparison. I do have one comment to make specific to the E50, and that has to do with the shock mount. For the most part, I really like the shock mount design. However, at least with the shock mount I have, you do have to be mindful if you intend to use the mic at an angle that might allow gravity to slip the mic from the mount. If you're angling the mic more than parallel to the floor, you really want to crank down on the grip screws. Over time, I worry this will put a lot of stress on this part of the mic, resulting in an eventual breakage/failure. This could have been avoided if the mic body had a small rectangular groove in its side which the shock mount prongs could grab, essentially locking the prongs to the mic without having to torque down on the screws so desperately. This is my only concern about this bundle. So there you go. An episode comparing 10 popular condenser mics in the $100 to $200 range, featuring the new CAD E50 courtesy of Sally and her scooter as she visits the San Francisco Bay Seals. That wraps up another episode of From A to Global Z. I hope you found value in the information provided. Please join us to see what we're up to in episode 22, and I'm going to wager we will be back to covering our more typical subject matter, but stranger things have happened. Meanwhile, please stay healthy, get vaccinated if you can, and hopefully we'll be out of this COVID mess soon. Practice social distancing, wear your face mask covering, and be excellent to each other. Wishing you peace through music, I'm Bill Lord.